Hi. I'm at a different angle today. I have made it so you can see more of my bookshelf because we're doing a bit of a different video today. We're going to be doing the book unhaul challenge, and that challenge is when you basically go through your bookshelves based on different prompts, and based on those prompts you find books that you want to get rid of that fit those prompts. You'll see as we go. This is created by Kayla from Books and Lala. She's great. I'll link her channel, but you've probably already checked her out. Let's be real. Is that everything? Did I even say my name? My name's Selena, if you couldn't tell from the title of my channel, which is Selena Reads. Let's get into this because I am in desperate need of an unhaul, like desperate need of an unhaul. I have stuff that I have like just sitting here as well because I don't have room for it on my shelves, and it's gotta go. Okay, so the first prompt is a book you rated low. So get rid of a book you rated low. I have a ton of those that are just festering on my shelf that I'm ready to get rid of. Now I'm just gonna sort of go through and look for the books that I've rated low recently on each shelf. See, I have a whole like extra hidden world behind each shelf. Okay, so the book I pulled from my like non-fantasy shelf pretty much generally is 3 books. I have Long Burn by Joe Baker, Unmarriageable by Sonia Kamal, and A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Wood. I read these 2 for a class, and I gave, I didn't rate Unmarriageable, or I started to not rate Unmarriageable, and Long Burn I gave 2 stars, this I gave 2 stars, and I didn't like them, so I'm getting rid of them. They don't need to take up shelf space. This shelf is good, this fantasy shelf, because I haven't rated anything extraordinarily low. Oh, there we go. Okay, this is the only 1 star I can find off of my like adult speculative fiction shelf that's not high fantasy. The Very Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. I gave this 1 star. It's in my worst books of the year video, as well as a couple others that I've already talked about, so I'll link that if you want to know specifically why I didn't like it, but I didn't like it. I think my classics shelf right here is going to be good for now. Both of them are going to be good. Even there's definitely books that I've given like 2 stars behind there, but I think I'm gonna keep them for now just because sometimes I like to have copies of classics even if I don't like them. I don't know. It's probably some pretentious BS. Oh, but there's a YA shelf you can't see. We hit the mother lode with YA. So the first one was my worst book of the year that we're getting rid of. It is YA. I need to lighten this up. Did that help? Yes, it did. Okay, so the first book that I pulled from my YA shelf that I rated low was a 1 star, and it was my worst book of the year, and that is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I don't know why I forgot her name. She's really famous. I hated this book. I have a negative review, and it's my worst books of the year. I'll link them both. And then I'm also gonna get rid of Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. I don't know why I couldn't say her name either. She's really popular. I liked Carry On when I read it, but I hated this. I gave it 1 star. I will link my review if you want to know exactly what I hated about it. And I have the Barnes & Noble version and everything. That's embarrassing. That's just embarrassing at this day and age. And also Rainbow Rowell has continually backed her racist book, Eleanor and Park, and allowed herself to make more money off of it by making it into a movie. So I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate her as an author. So I'm gonna get rid of this. I don't need it on my shelves. I may even get rid of her other books. Okay, last ones I'm gonna get rid of for this particular challenge are Once Upon a Time in the North and Haroon in the Sea of Stories. These are both middle grade children's books that I read for a class, and I gave them both 2 stars. Well, I gave this one 3 stars, but it's more like a 2-star book, and this is a 2 star, so I'm gonna get rid of those 2. The next prompt is get rid of a book that you changed your mind about, and there's several that I have all just sitting right here that I'm going to talk about for that one. Okay, so I've added a light to the equation, and where was I? Yes, books that I changed my mind on. Okay, the first one of those is gonna be Autobiography by Christina Lauren. This is a book that I gave 5 stars to a couple of years ago. It is a YA gay romance. We follow a boy who is gay and not Mormon living in Provo, Utah, and we also follow another gay boy who is Mormon. And we follow them trying to navigate a secret relationship and a writing class together, and yeah, it's a really sweet book. And I feel like my thoughts have I still like look upon this fondly, but I know that my boyfriend enjoys this much more than I will, and so I'm gonna give it to him. It's one that I don't consider a favorite anymore, so yeah, Next, I have The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza by Sean David Hutchinson. This author I've learned to be more critical of, as well as his books. This one was one of the first books that got me back into reading. It was like the first book I read in 2018 when I was getting back into reading, because he was my favorite author in high school. He was writing what I wanted to read, and I have progressively liked his books less and less, and I liked this one at the time, but there was things in this that I look back on and I'm like, that was really awful. That was in there. Like the romance in particular is really toxic in this one, and so I'm gonna get rid of this. Another one is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. It's not a favorite anymore. It's not something that I don't know if it was ever a favorite, but it's not something that I look back on and I'm like 5 stars, which it was never 5 stars, but it's not something that I feel the need to keep around. And again, this author I've learned to be more critical of as well. So I'm gonna give this to someone who I know will appreciate it a little more. Then I have The Demigod Files by Rick Riordan. Again, I'm gonna give this to someone who will appreciate it a little more. I loved it when I was a kid. I don't love it now. I recently reread it when I reread the Percy Jackson series, and I don't love it on the same level, so I'm gonna give it to someone who will. The final one that I'm going to get rid of because it's not for me anymore and my thoughts on it have changed is the Foxhole Court trilogy. This was a book series that I read in high school based off of a friend's recommendation, and I enjoyed it at the time, but it's not something that I would ever reread now. It's very graphic in depiction of abuse, sexual assault, like toxicity. The mental illness portrayals are really bad. You know, I've read other LGBTQ books that are better than this, and you know what? It needs to go. I was actually afraid to get rid of these for so many years because I was like, I don't want these in someone else's hands. They're not good. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them yet, but I don't want them anymore. Next, series you won't be completing. I mean, Wayward Son, technically, and then I think I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the Peregrines series. I was convinced to keep these after my last Unhaul, because these were my last Unhaul, but I just think that it's time for me to let these go, put them in someone else's hands, because if I want them again, I can listen to them on audiobook or something, so yeah. Time for these to go. And then I'm also not gonna finish the Inheritance cycle, so I haven't fully decided whether I'm gonna get rid of these or not yet. I'm not gonna have them on my shelves, but I'm hoping to be a teacher one day, and so these would be maybe interesting to have in my classroom. They're a little young though for that crowd, but anyways, yeah. I'm gonna put these in someone else's hands that I think will enjoy them more. I read the first book and gave it 3 stars. It's not a series I'm gonna continue on with. So in my shelves, I also found the Shades of Magic trilogy. I'm not gonna be continuing on with this trilogy. I read the first 2, give them both 3 stars. I like the second one better than the first, and then I started the third one, but I DNF'd it, so I'm just not gonna finish this trilogy pretty much. And I'm gonna give it away because I think there are other people who will enjoy it more. Muse of Nightmares. I'm gonna get rid of this because I DNF'd Strange the Dreamer pretty recently, and I just don't think I'm going to get to it or this sequel. I think DNF is another question though, so I'm gonna save Strange the Dreamer, but I am gonna be getting rid of Muse of Nightmares. The next question is a book you DNF'd. I have 2 right here, I think. Yes, 2 that I have actually already shown in an Unhaul and I still have are Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater and Wild Beauty. These just aren't for me. I'm gonna get rid of them. This specifically I was really excited about because I love the Raven cycle, but I don't need more of the Raven cycle. I realized as soon as I started reading this, and then Wild Beauty just isn't my thing, so I'm gonna get rid of these. Also, technically A Conjuring of Light I DNF'd, but let's look for some more I DNF'd. I've put a lot of my TBR books on pause, but I think it means like DNF. Okay, I found 2 from my YA shelf. The first one is 3 Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. I'm not sold on never picking this back up again, so I may not get rid of it, but I DNF'd it. So we will see. We'll put you here as a maybe for now. And then Strange the Dreamer. Just said it, I DNF'd. So another one that I DNF'd is River Secrets by Shannon Hale, and this is also a series I'm not going to be continuing with, so I'm going to get rid of River Secrets. I am going to keep the first book, The Goose Girl, though, because I enjoyed that one, and I don't have the second book. This is the third book, and I DNF'd it. I'm gonna get rid of it. The next prompt is books you have multiple copies of, and I have taken the liberty of pulling out some double copies I don't want. So I got this copy of The Silmarillion used, and then I found the same thing in hardcover, and my boyfriend got it for me for Christmas, not this past Christmas, but the one before that. So I don't need this paperback. And then I got this edition of Frankenstein, but it's It's pretty rubbery and I like it. It smells like rubber and it makes everything smell like rubber, so I'm gonna get rid of this too. I think I'm gonna get rid of this edition of Through the Looking Glass because I just don't need all the ones I have, and I don't know. I'm gonna get rid of, I technically don't have this in another copy, The Adventures of Robin Hood. I do have a Robin Hood book, but I don't have the Robert Lancelyn Green version, but I don't think I'm gonna read this, so that might be another question. I'll save this for another question. Then I have this edition of Little Women. I'm gonna get rid of this because I have like 10 editions of Little Women. Not really, but it's a lot of editions. Then I have A Little Princess and the Secret Garden. I'm gonna get rid of these as well because I liked them both, but I don't need these editions. And then I'm also gonna get rid of this edition of Heidi. I have read Heidi recently and I gave it 2 stars. This is a beautiful cover, but I don't like the series at all, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Someone else will like it. Or maybe they won't because Heidi sucks. The next question is a book you will never actually get to, and that is when I'm gonna talk about The Adventures of Robin Hood. This is a book that I will never actually get to. I've already read one edition of Robin Hood, The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood by, I don't know his name, some guy, and I didn't love it, so why would I like a different rendition of it? I don't know. The next prompt is a book you bought because of the hype. I mean, Darker Shade of Magic, The Lies of Locke Lamora, but I don't want to get rid of that. Honestly, Muse of Nightmares, I bought this because of the hype before I had even read Strange the Dreamer, so this counts, right? Right. A book you bought because of the cover, I think The Berry Giant counts for that, but I don't usually just purely cover buy, so I'm not gonna get rid of anything that counts for that. The next one is a book you don't know anything about, and I've looked through my TBR shelf and I couldn't find anything up there, but I do have this edition of a bunch of Charles Dickens books, and I both don't think I'll get to all of these, and also I don't know anything about like A Tale of Two Cities, and like that's basically it. So I'm just gonna get rid of this and say this counts. And then finally we have a book you did not buy, and that is gonna be Dracula. This was a Valentine's present from my boyfriend, but it smells like rubber. And I wanted it and I asked for it, but it smells like rubber. And so he understands that we don't want that stinking up the books. So we're gonna get rid of this. Let me just look through and see if I can find anything else. Okay, I think I'm also gonna get rid of Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell because I enjoyed this when I first started reading, but I don't think I want to keep it. And it's a book that I could see myself putting in a classroom, but it's also not one that I feel like I need to have in there, so I'm gonna get rid of it, I think. These I'm like debating getting rid of, but I might keep them for a little while longer at least. Weird the Ants is a book I've definitely changed my opinion on, but I think I'm gonna keep it for now. But for like nostalgia's sake, like this book meant a lot to me in high school, but I'm never gonna reread it. That shelf is fine. This shelf is fine. I only have like 6 books behind the Sanderson, so my YA shelf is good for now, but it is on thin ice. See, I hated Heidi, but it matches the set. Maybe one day I'll just pass the set on to someone. I think that's that. That's the Unhaul challenge. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you in another one. Bye.